great show for you guys today. We're cooking up a sacred mother butter chicken. And if you're wondering why we're doing that, well, that's because we've got shred wizard Andy James on the show all the way from the UK. So we're cooking up a delicious butter chicken or murg makhani with a delicious naan to go with it. So butter chicken is one of the most popular dishes in India, probably after tandoori chicken and chicken tikka. Originally, butter chicken essentially was leftover tandoori chicken shredded and put into a tomato gravy, and that's how butter chicken was created. Or so I've been told. Don't quote me on that. But we're going to do it slightly differently today. We're going to do my version of it. So we're going to sort of cook off some of the chicken and use those delicious juices and make our gravy out of that. So I've started by marinating this chicken a little while ago with just ginger garlic paste, some salt, a little bit of Kashmiri red chili and some coriander powder, and just let it be for an hour or so before you're ready to cook. So I'm going to start by frying this off in my pan. So get your pan nice and hot, and of course every recipe starts with oil in the pan. So you put about 2 tablespoons of oil in your pan and let it heat up. We're going to cook the chicken in this first and then make the gravy after that. So we're going to start putting our chicken in our hot oil. And I've cut the chicken into nice small pieces, because that's how you like it in your butter chicken. And I'm using mixed boneless, mostly the leg and thigh, because I think that is the perfect piece of chicken suited for butter chicken. Now you could put the chicken raw into your rich tomato gravy, but the chicken will release a lot of water and it generally will not give you the same effect as it would cooking the chicken earlier and putting it in later once the gravy is fully cooked and ready. Like I said, apparently tandoori chicken is what goes into butter chicken. So that's full cooked chicken going into the gravy. The chicken is about cooked now, and we're going to remove it from the pan. Leave all that lovely masala in. So you can see all the lovely masala here at the bottom of the pan, and we're going to add in a big chunk of butter to that. It is butter chicken at the end of the day. Into this we're going to throw 1 chopped onion. Now you can put a little bit of water in to kind of scrape off those delicious pan juices, and you can smell that delicious butter, and let your onions cook. Now the butter chicken I'm making is a very rustic butter chicken, and that's because my food processor is broken. So ideally what I would do is I would cook the onion, cook the tomato, cook all the spices, and then blend it to a fine paste. Instead, I'm going to leave the onions as they are, as well as instead of using fresh tomatoes, I'm going to use tomato puree. So that saves me the trouble of having to find my food processor and make puree out of the tomatoes. So let these onions brown and get all those delicious juices off the bottom of the pan, the masala. I'm going to add a spoonful of cumin seeds to this. It's just like a winning combination, onion fried with cumin seeds or jeera. Hey, we had Gojira on the show last. Get it? Gojira. Let this cook. Next to this, I'm adding a very special powder which is mace and elaichi or cardamoms, green cardamoms. Now the reason I'm doing this is because in one of the recipes I saw, the chef made tomato puree from scratch obviously, using mace and elaichi as well as a little garlic and whole tomatoes, fried in butter and then puree. Now because I am using ready-made puree, I don't have these spices incorporated into that. So I'm going to add them now to give it that unique flavor. And mace is apparently one of the flowers from the nutmeg seed. So, you know, and of course elaichi as well, cardamom, and it has a rich and delicious flavor to it. So you let this cook as well. You can add a little water to ensure nothing sticks. Nothing burns. And you can actually smell the elaichi, it's delicious. Next, we add a small spoon, because we already marinated the chicken in ginger garlic paste, we're just putting a very small spoon of this. And now that this has all come together nicely, I'm going to put in my tomato puree. Be careful, it will sputter. So mix this in well. I'm going to add a little bit of water to thin it out. And since this is a ready-made puree, it's quite red in color, just like, you know, a butter chicken would be. If you're using fresh tomatoes, the trick I heard is when you're making the puree, you saute it with butter, and that is what sort of brings out the redness in the tomato. So that's how they get that red color, or it's food coloring, which I do not recommend. Taste over appearance. Now at this point, I'm going to add a little bit of the Kashmiri chili, about half a spoon. If you want it spicy, you could have fried a green chili with it much earlier. And of course the star of butter chicken, kasuri methi. I do not know what it's called in English, but kasuri methi. So I'm going to put some of that in. And I'm going to stir this. You can see you've got a delicious, rich, beautiful gravy. Now you're going to have some of that residual water from the chicken when you cook it. So I'm going to pour some of that in now at this point. And put in a little more water. Just mix that all in. And lastly, salt to taste. So with a spoon of salt, just mix everything in nicely. And just cover it up and let it cook on low for about 10 minutes. You basically want the oil to separate from the tomatoes, and that's kind of when you know it's done, because you want to get rid of that sour or slightly tart tomato taste. Okay, it looks like our tomatoes are done. But the gravy looks about done. See, it's nice and thick and chunky and rustic. Fantastic. Now I'm just going to add a spoon of sugar to this. It's optional, you don't have to. Just mix that in. This would also be a good point to taste your sauce and see that it's okay. Next, I put the chicken into the sauce. Get all those juices in. Just mix that in nicely. It's a delicious, lovely red color. And if you feel your gravy is too thick, you can always add a little bit of water. But look at that, that's so delicious. And it's almost ready. The final step is to add about a cup of fresh cream. You can obviously skip this step if you're watching your weight, and when you use butter, use some healthy butter instead, like low fat or low cal butter. But we're going to pour our cream in. And look at that, you got that beautiful orange color coming out now. Absolutely divine. And look, you got a lot more gravy now. It's perfect. Oh wow. And there it is, delicious butter chicken. And once again, taste it at this point and season as required. So I'm just going to let it cook for another 2 minutes, just so that the chicken can really absorb the flavors of the tomato gravy. That's delicious. And our sacred mother butter chicken is done. Time to make those naans. So now it's time to make the naan to go with the butter chicken. And it's fairly simple. You got to make a dough, and then you got to cook that dough either. Now obviously you don't have a tandoor at home, so the two options that you have are, one is on a frying pan, the other is in your oven. Ideally, if you have a thing called a pizza stone, that really assists you in making a good naan. So to make the naan, you start basically by using a teaspoon of yeast in 3/4 cup of water, of lukewarm water with a spoon of sugar, and that activates the yeast. Besides that, you need 2 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of yogurt, 2 tablespoons of oil, a pinch of baking soda, a pinch of baking powder, and some salt. Mix all these in a bowl, add the water, make the dough, and leave it to rest for 3 to 4 hours. And what you'll end up with is something that looks like this. I obviously made this 3 or 4 hours ago. The reason I'm not showing you how to make the dough from scratch is because you know how to make it. You can watch the paneer paratha recipes, or even the chole bhature recipe, and I'll show you how to make a dough in that. It's the same thing, just mix them all in a bowl till you get a dough, and you see it's a nice spongy dough. So your naan will be nice and spongy. So I'm just going to break a piece of this, very simple, like that. Just roll it around so there are no folds or nothing. Keep the rest of your dough aside. Just a little bit of all-purpose flour. Dust that off. Some on your rolling surface, some on your pin. Just sort of press it down. You can see it's a nice stretchy dough. Just going to roll this out. You can roll it in whatever shape you like. Don't make it too thin, you want a nice, lovely, thick naan. Look, you can either put this in the frying pan or in the oven. I'm going to do one of each and show you what the result looks like. Make sure you set your oven to the highest temperature possible, because a tandoor is normally really hot, and obviously our regular ovens do not match the tandoor. So just put it in the highest temperature that your oven has and let it cook, and once it's brown on the outside, it's done. So we're going to go and cook up 2 naans for you. And there you can see the naans are done. The slightly more puffed up one is from the oven, whereas the slightly flatter one is from the pan. But I can assure you, they both taste fabulous. So let's plate this up and wait for Andy James to come and taste the sacred mother butter chicken with the delicious fresh naans that I've made. Hey and welcome back to Headbanger's Kitchen. I'm here with our guest, the Sultan of Shred Guitar, Andy James. Hey Andy, hi. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
How does it feel to be in India?
Hot. Yeah. No, it's really cool. It's been a really good experience. I've never been before, so.
So the first time you've ever come to India is now?
The first time, yeah.
So you just completed a 4-city tour of India. Doing your ESP and Laney clinics. What was the experience like?
Well, it's been really good. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really expect to have as many people into, like, you know, what I'm doing as maybe I expected. Probably a lot less to turn up to clinics and stuff like that. But I mean, the first two were kind of more standard clinics. You know, where you stand up and you play a few songs and then you basically just take questions and talk to the audience and stuff, and yeah, that was pretty cool. Some really, you know, good questions, enthusiastic, like, you know, people turning up, and then crazy sort of like photo and signing sessions like at the end of it, and then yeah, we did one in a shopping centre in Delhi, which is again kind of weird, but yeah, it was okay. And then the last two we did at the Palm show here in Mumbai, so they went pretty well. Unfortunately, I was ill for one of the shows, but I think you can't really avoid that eating like some of the spicy Indian food. I should have just maybe stayed away from some of it, to be honest. But
well, we've made you some Indian food, but hopefully it'll not be as spicy as what you've eaten so far.
Yeah.
Because I don't eat spicy food myself, so I'll keep the spice down. But tell me a little bit more about the Bombay Clinic. What did you think when you saw that mosh pit break out?
To be honest, it's the first mosh pit I've ever seen at an instrumental show. You know, I've been to, you know, like Satriani shows, Vice shows, and I've never seen a mosh pit going on. But I mean, I think my stuff's more on the sort of metal side, so maybe, you know, kind of warrants a bit more physical, you know, punch-ups in the audience, I don't know. But yeah, it was kind of crazy. You know, everybody seemed like, you know, really into it and stuff, so.
And you also jammed with a number of Indian guitar players, I think Baiju, Nishit, Sanju and Bryden.
Yeah.
So how was that experience like, and was this something you had planned to do, or was it a...
Yeah, I think it was like a preconceived like thing to sort of do the clinic and then, you know, get like some Indian talent up on stage and, you know, have a jam and stuff. Yeah, all the jams went really well. I mean, that stuff, you know, when you don't really plan what you're doing, can go horribly wrong, but, you know, all the players were great, so, you know, everyone, you know, just got up and just got into it and had a good time. But yeah, like the last jam that I had with Nishit was killer. I mean, he's like 18 years old and he's been playing like 3 years or something. It's kind of frightening how good he is. Like, so it was really good to like jam with him and stuff, and obviously Baiju as well. And yeah, no, it was all good. Yeah, really good experience.
How's the food been on your trip so far? Apart from
well, apart from the I think the tikka masala was the culprit from you know, the hotel we were at the other night. But yeah, apart from that, I mean, I've just probably eaten more KFC and hard rock, you know, cafe stuff.
So you haven't really sampled much of the local cuisine then?
No, not really. But to be honest, you know, the way my stomach is, like with spice and stuff like that, I'd probably do well to avoid that sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe when you come on a holiday to India, you could
get
a chance with
maybe,
it.
Yeah, maybe when I've packed a few more Imodiums, I'll give it a go.
Awesome. So, you're obviously known for the band that you play with, Sacred Mother Tongue. I know you joined the band sometime later on,
yeah.
But what's with the name?
The name is, it's actually from a New Model Army song. It's a lyric in a song. and I think Darren was the one that suggested it, you know, when the band started, and you know, among like all the other names and that kind of just stuck really. So it's just really a lyric in a song. But I mean, it's one of those names where I suppose it can, you know, it can mean anything you want it to really. You know, obviously mother tongue is like everybody's, you know, first language they speak, you know, and I suppose, you know, music's a kind of language. I don't really know. I mean, you can, you know,
interpret it however you like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, it's quite a, you know, it's a different name. It's one that, I mean, I must admit, when I was told about the band, you know, to sort of like try out for, it took me about 3 goes before I was kind of like, sacred what? Like that, you know. Yeah, but you know, once you get it, you remember it, sort of thing.
And how did you come to join the band? I mean, how did you find yourself playing guitar for them?
Well, a friend of mine was kind of, you know, scouting for bands for me to try and sort of get into, because I think, you know, it was always like, well, I think you should just get in a band, even though you're doing the instrumental stuff, you know, it'd be quite cool to, you know, get out there and do something that might, you know, you might end up sort of touring the world and doing, I suppose, it's probably maybe more scope for that being in a vocal-based band than, you know, instrumental market, you know, nowadays it's quite a tough market to crack, you know, and it's very niche. But I mean, I've always done both. But yeah, the opening came up with Sacred, and I think I'd heard like the Revenge's personal EP that they did before I joined the band, and Force Fed was like the first song I'd ever heard. And to be honest, when I heard Darren's voice, I was kind of like, well, this is something that I could probably, you know, write for and really get into. You know, I think that was the first thing that I got into for the band. And then, you know, I spoke to like the guitar player who was in the band. Craig was Lee's brother, and they needed another guitarist. And then shortly after I joined the band, Craig left because he had like a physical injury that stopped him from playing guitar. So when I joined the band, the first gig that I did was like on my own with the rest of the guys. But you know, it went kind of well, and to be honest, we've been a like one guitar band ever since, because it just kind of worked that way, you know. So that was like back in 2008, I think, something like that.
Okay, so you've basically been with them since 2008, I think.
Yeah, I think so, something like that. It was like summer 2008. I mean, they already kind of see me play and stuff, so I don't think they were really worried about whether I could do the stuff or not. I think they just wanted to meet up and, you know, make sure I wasn't like a twat or whatever.
Awesome. And how do you think you possibly influenced the way the band sounds today? Because obviously you're the only guitar player. You know, how do you guys write songs?
Well, the first album was like a mixture between, you know, the old stuff, because we redid some of the songs, like we redid Force Fed, Man You Tried to Hide. Yeah, we did another one as well. I can't remember the name of it now, which is shocking really. But yeah, we used to do it live, and now we don't do it anymore. But yeah, that's on the first album. There's at least 3 or 4 tracks that were old stuff, and then, you know, there's kind of new stuff as well. I think you can hear the difference between, you know, the old stuff and the new stuff. And I think, you know, with the first album, I think Sacred were pretty much trying to find their feet as a band anyway, because you know, there'd been so many lineup changes and all the rest of it, that, you know, it become a bit of a mixture. So, you know, when we came around to doing the second album, which came out this year, back in April, you know, it was a lot more of a cohesive effort. You know, I think we've grown together as a band a lot more, and it just sounds more like, you know, a well-rounded album. But a lot of the songs get written, you know, initially by me, because a lot of it's, you know, guitar orientated. So, you know, rather than standing in a rehearsal room and kind of going, oh, I've got this idea, and then trying to get somebody to, you know, to follow that idea, I tend to just demo whole songs up. So, you know, just play like in Cubase, do all my drum tracks or whatever, you know, put a bit of bass down, and just do the song in its whole entirety, and then just give it to the band, and then, you know, we can kind of pick and choose what bits are good or whatever, or we might jam stuff out, you know, with that basic concept in mind, and then just change bits. And then Darren just tends to write on his own, you know, because I mean, none of us sing apart from him, so, you know, I think all the vocals and all the lyrics and concepts for the songs come from, you know, his own inspiration.
So this year's actually been particularly big for you guys. I think you're nominated for a Golden God.
Yeah.
You guys have a new album out. It came out in April.
Yeah.
And you're also playing Download, I believe.
Yeah.
Next week.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, when I get home from being in India, we've got like Download rehearsals. We're also breaking in a new bass player as well for Download, so all the pressure's on him really.
Yeah.
But you know, but we're proud to sort of like, you know, have the guy on board. I mean, he's a, you know, killer guy, and yeah, so, you know, we're just going to get him on board, and then we'll do Download, and then straight after that we're on tour in Europe with Hell Yeah.
So it's been a big year for you guys, and hopefully, you know, you will be even more successful next year.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah,
hopefully.
but how has the journey been to get here? You know, because a lot of people have these illusions of rock star lifestyles, and you guys are pretty well known here. You know, people think you're probably a big band and you're, you know, doing really well. So what is that journey like? How has the struggle been for you guys?
Well, I mean, I suppose, you know, there's a lot of bands that have probably said the same thing, but, you know, there's a lot of, you know, driving around in a shitty van up and down the country, playing to, you know, hardly any people for no money, you know. But I think you've ultimately got to, you know, believe that you've got something as a band, and, you know, you've got to just go out there and just hope that one day, you know, things will start to progress. You know, I think for us, we have, you know, we have struggled. I mean, it's not been like an overnight thing, you know, for us, and we're still very much, you know, on the kind of lower rungs of the ladder trying to get up, you know. But, you know, we've had a few kind of leg ups. You know, we've been fortunate enough to sign with EMI. You know, and we've got, you know, really good agent on board now. You know, so, you know, we've got stuff that's come to us, but it's not been without the hard work that's gone in. And obviously these people have seen that we've been up and down. You know, we've played, and you know, now, you know, we've got an album that we're all like really proud of, and I think, you know, the songs on it are doing, you know, pretty well. So I think, you know, hopefully by maybe album number 3, 4, you know, we'll actually start to travel around in maybe a tour bus or something, you know. Each of these things is like a sort of stepping stone in the right direction, you know. I think when we get on our first tour bus tour or whatever, we'll be like, right, okay, we've maybe stepped it up now and we're on the next sort of bit. But yeah, I don't know, you know, I mean, it's definitely moving in the right direction, you know. We've got all the right people involved, we've got, you know, as far as we're concerned, we've got all the right material that we're proud to put out and play. So we just hope that people like it and come to the shows and support the band.
Awesome. So, well, good luck to you for that. I hope it all works out really well.
Yeah, cheers.
You guys are awesome. So moving on to your solo guitar shred career, you've got a ton of albums out, you've got tons of YouTube videos with thousands and hundreds of thousand hits, and a lot of stuff going for you. But what really inspired you to pick up the guitar, and when did you actually start playing?
Well, I started playing guitar when I was 12. I was at boarding school at the time, and you know, there was like a beaten up, you know, acoustic like knocking around. I'd have a go on that, and then a friend of mine, you know, had a Gibson Les Paul and stuff, and I kind of played on that a bit, and you know, Slash was like a really big influence on me. I'd had Appetite for Destruction for like ages, and that was kind of like my sort of Bible in terms of like, you know, how to play guitar. You know, I kind of learned every song, all the solos, everything, and I didn't really listen to anything else for probably years, you know, because I was just so obsessed with it. And I think, you know, that gave me a pretty good grounding for like, you know, learning other stuff. And you know, I've been introduced to Joe Satriani pretty early on, but to be honest, it was kind of over my head, you know, the you know, what was going on. And Surfing with the Alien, I mean, I had it on vinyl actually. That's kind of how far back we're going. And but there's a funny story with that. Like, the first time I'd heard that Joe Satriani album, I'd put it on. I had no idea how to use a record player or nothing like that, right? So I put the record on and I was listening to it, and I was just thinking, God, this guy is playing ridiculously fast. I'm never going to be able to do that. And then I realised it was set on double speed. So then I was kind of like, I'd obviously set it on like normal speed, and I was thinking, okay, I mean, this is still like killer stuff, but I reckon I might be able to get my head around this one day. So yeah, you know, once I'd sort of figured out how to use my record player, things didn't seem quite so scary. But yeah, I was into players like, Slash, obviously, Zakk Wylde, Joe Satriani, Nuno Bettencourt, and then, you know, as I kind of got progressed you know, I'd found out about players like Yngwie Malmsteen, Paul Gilbert, John Petrucci, Andy Timmins, you know, all those guys. They're all like really strong influences on me, as you know, in terms of technique and phrasing and all the rest of it. And they still are, you know, still a massive influence on not my playing. But you know, there's a few other guys that are on the scene now that you know, that I kind of look up to as a player. You know, guys like Jeff Loomis, Per Nilsson from Sky Symmetry. Paul Wardingham as well. He's like an Australian guitar player. He's sort of known, but I think he should be way more known. I mean, his technique is just ridiculous. He actually guested on my last EP that I put out. He did a guest solo on a song called Avidity. So yeah, you know, guys should go and check him out, definitely. But yeah, you know, I'm always getting inspiration from different places, different people. Even Nishit, like the other day, we were like, you know, jamming backstage, and he was doing some stuff. I was like, what the fuck is that? You know, like, you know. So I'm always like trying to learn new things and stuff like that, just to try and get better.
That's awesome. All right, so moving a little bit away from music, what are your favorite foods? What do you like to eat?
Well, I like to eat steak a lot. Steak and like burgers. You know, good burgers though, not like, you know, the shit that you get in fast food places. Although I do like that as well, but you know, anything that's sort of bad for you, I like really. Chocolate, crisps. Yeah, I do like, you know, curries and stuff like that. I mean, the thing is, I don't really eat like strong curries or whatever. So from like when I'm in the UK, I just eat like, you know, a tikka, maybe a korma. I suppose I'll probably eat more kormas than anything else. I mean, it's a bit of a pussy curry, really. but you know, I'm a bit of a pussy when it comes to food, like especially with the spicy shit, because I'm always like, you know, if I eat anything like that, just, you know, my arsehole will fall out. And I'll be done for days, like I was here, you know. So,
Yeah, right.
but I always like the idea of it. It always looks like really nice, and I just think, oh yeah, I'm gonna have that.
And do you do any cooking of your own?
No, not really. I mean, the most I can cook is probably anything microwavable. You know, like beans, scrambled egg. I may have put a pizza in the oven from time to time, but that's about it.
So we'll have to skip the Andy James recipe from my book if I ever do one.
Yeah, it'd be pot noodle and a fucking soft drink probably if you come around mine. So.
Yeah. Okay, and do you have any hobbies apart from music? I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into like, you know, films and stuff. I mean, I'm, you know, anything to do with like, you know, films, Hollywood. You know, I'm into, you know, like series stuff on TV. You know, anything like that, comedy stuff. Basically anything TV orientated where I can just sit and do fuck all. That's normally what I do when I'm not, you know, like travelling around gigging or whatever. Or you know, I'll go and see my girlfriend. She lives in Romania, and basically I go there, see her, and then we basically just do fuck all. Go and watch films. I don't know, just kind of hang out. And that's about it really. I don't, you know, like do anything like knitting or sewing or. I like ironing. Ironing's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
sometimes I'll do
stamps.
that. Nah, nothing like that. Nah. A good, you know, uncreased pair of jeans, is a good thing, or a t-shirt or a shirt or something.
So you have an alternative career.
Yeah, it's not very rock and roll.
The Iron Man.
Yeah, the Iron Man. Yeah, exactly.
That might be a good idea actually.
Yeah.
Sell that to somebody.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite genre of film?
I don't know. I like sort of like crime thrillers, stuff like that. I mean, like Silence of the Lambs is one of my favourite films, just because it's not particularly scary or gory, but I think it's the sort of like the psychological element of the fact that, you know, Hannibal Lecter just kills, you know, just because people are rude, he'll eat them, and I kind of like the idea of that. So. Yeah.
So you'd like to eat people?
Well, I've heard it tastes like chicken, so. Yeah.
Awesome. And you know, most musicians are balancing day jobs. So do you do music full time, or do you have anything else that?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, I do stuff for Jam Track Central, and that pays. I mean, I've done stuff that gets used for like, you know, TV and stuff like that. You know, just kind of library music stuff, which, you know, pays a bit. You know, I make a little bit from solo album sales, not a huge amount, but. You know, they stuff still sells, so that's pretty cool. You know, I work for Lick Library as well. That's, you know, another way of earning money. So yeah, I mean, I'm always playing and either teaching or just performing and stuff, and that generally brings in, you know, enough money to, you know, clothe myself and pay rent and stuff like that, which is kind of all I really need, to be honest. So.
Yeah. Here's a common question that you might get asked, but you will always struggle for an answer. Got any funny stories from the road?
Yeah, once I was travelling with Sacred, and we had a long journey, I think, or something. And anyway, we were like slap bang in the middle of London traffic or whatever, and I desperately needed a piss, man. It was like unbelievable, and I couldn't hold it. So we tried to sort of, Josh, our old bass player, kind of fashioned this funnel type thing out of 2 bottles, right? He got a bottle and he cut the top off of one of them and then cut the bottom off another and kind of stuck it in and then opened the top. But the thing is, he tried to gaffer tape the middle, and obviously it wasn't watertight.
Oh.
So I was kind of going in this fucking bottle, and like as it reached that gap where the 2 bottles had joined, there was sort of piss leaking out into the van. Lee was driving and he was kind of like feeling really sort of like nauseous and sick from the smell of piss. So anyway, to sort of like alleviate the smell of piss in the van, we sort of opened the window and chucked it out, and there was like a taxi next to us with the window open.
Into the taxi.
So like dashed it out the window. Piss
Any of you
everywhere.
ever travelling in a taxi in London and you got hit in the face with pee? Where that came from?
Yeah, so yeah, you know, stuff like that happens all the time. I mean, there's, you know, quite a few drunken stories. Yeah.
So, well, Andy, it's been great having you on the show. Are you ready to taste the Sacred Mother Butter
I am,
Chicken?
yeah, bring it on, bring it on.
So we're gonna go and get that Sacred Mother Butter Chicken.
Sometimes in life, shit happens, and this is one of those times. Unfortunately, the Andy James section where he eats the Sacred Mother Butter Chicken has been lost. However, if you listen very carefully,
Oh, it's really good. It's nice. What's in it? That's amazing. So, but that's really good. Fucking hell, man, this is awesome.
that's Andy James enjoying the Sacred Mother Butter Chicken. And he did enjoy it, but unfortunately the footage is lost. And this is also the last episode of this season of Headbanger's Kitchen. We'll be back soon with more episodes and a lot more goodies. Stay tuned.
And I believe you've also played with Cradle of Filth at some point.
Yeah, I did, yeah. Well, the Darkly Venus Aversa album, I played a few solos on, and I just did like a dep gig. James couldn't do it, so I did one gig in France. So yeah, that was an experience. You know, doing kind of black metal stuff, which normally I'm not really associated with doing that kind of thing. So it was, you know,
You wear all the paint and all.
Yeah, you know, it was like, you know, get proper sort of coloured up and that, and you know, it's kind of much the same thing as my role I play in, because I play in another band called Fields of the Nephilim as well. And yeah, basically, you know, the pre-gig ritual is to get covered in self-raising flour. Basically, you just like cover your whole body in flour and that, and then just go out on stage looking like a dusty cowboy.
So you use flour, not paint?
No, it's all flour, yeah. Well, flour kind of sticks to you better. The only thing with that is, like, if you get hot and sweaty, it kind of congeals on you.
Face. You have pizza dough.
Yeah, basically. So if you get hungry during the gig, it's all good. Yeah, because the heat as well from the lights probably cooks the dough as well.
Oh, God.